Recently, family separation at the border has become a greater issue throughout the United States. Whether it's caused by crime, deportation, or COVID-19, children are being separated from their parents and families are losing most communication with one another. The United States has a federal government should implement immigration reform that removes substantial statutory restrictions on illegal immigration into the United States because there are new family separations every day. The plan is to create better policies for immigration in order to allow them to become citizens sooner. If it was easier for immigrants to get citizenship, the deportation rates would decrease and families would be able to stay together. It is also important that people speak out against family separations and help with the children that have been taken away from their families. We need reform to the immigration policies because it is unfair to separate families because of how difficult it is to become a citizen. Immigration to the United States separates and keeps families apart, research has discovered. For the long waiting lines for visas in the family preference categories keeps families separated for long periods of time. There are so many better alternatives to family separation than just taking people automatically from their families. Among the most effective alternatives to detention for families arriving at the border was the Family Case Management Program, which allowed families to be released and receive intensive case supervision, help with child care and education, connections to legal counsel, and more, rather than simply be detained. The program was 99% effective in having families show up for check-ins and court appearances, and also ensured departure from the United States for those who did not win asylum. And at a cost of only $36 per day, it was far cheaper than family detention, which costs over $300 per person per day. The Trump administration shut down the program last June, but it should be brought back immediately, while private prison companies with spotty records when it comes to protecting immigrants run many of these alternatives, including the Family Case Management Program. They are still far better than either incarceration or separation. As CAP has previously argued, unless there's a clear and compelling reason for detaining families, for example, if they have a security or flight risk, the default should be release, not incarceration. Alternatives to detention make much more sense than detention, says Katie Shepard, the National Advocacy Council for Immigration Justice campaign. One option is to use a combination of GPS tracking and home visits to keep tabs on immigrants who have been picked up, allowing them to stay out of detention while their caseworkers go through the legal system. That program is dramatically cheaper, costing around $450 per day, according to Department of Homeland Security estimate, compared to the $134 per day it costs to hold an adult in an immigration detention. It takes about $319 per day to hold an individual in a family detention center in 2018, according to DHS. Republicans in House and Senate are scrambling to find solutions to this national crisis, with more than a dozen calling upon the President Trump to end separation immediately. Past President Donald Trump signed an executive order that purports to end family separation, but would instead simply lock up families together, leaving children behind bars for prolonged periods of time. It does nothing to rescind the underlying zero-tolerance policy used to prosecute parents that led to the separation in the first place. And likewise, every legislation proposal that congressional Republicans float would end family separation by instead jailing children alongside their asylum-seeking parents in immigration detention. Such proposals include a revised bill from Speaker of the House Paul Ryan, as well as legislation from Senator Ted Cruz and Freedom Caucus Chairman Republican Mark Meadows. Since 2001, the government has had facilities to detain parents along with their children. In Berks County, Pennsylvania, the one exception was a failed 3-year experiment starting in 2006 when Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE is a shortened version of that, opened a much bigger family facility in former prison in Texas. In studying the T. Don Hutto Residential Center, the Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Service and Women's Refugee Commission found a bunch of abuses, including guards using family separation or the threat of separation as a method of discipline, as well as children experiencing signs of psychological and physical trauma. The Obama administration removed these families from the Hutto facility in 2009. To summarize it up, family separation is wrong. Laws and policies have been put in place have proven to have harmful implications to those involved. Individuals who have had to deal with the turmoils of family separation, especially children, have suffered from short-term traumas and will ultimately suffer in the long term from these said traumas. There are alternatives with the same solution. Therefore, the extreme measures that have been enforced are obsolete. It is important that those creating these policies view the families affected through the same lens as they would their own families. The impact of the family separation will cause devastating factors that will only affect this generation, but many to come. It is apparent that family separation depreciation has always been a political issue in our states. However, it has not been addressed quite like the Trump administration, as we have our own thoughts on this political issue. Only time will tell the toll it had on our economy. Even though family separation has a great effect on family and children, only time will tell the impact on our society.